Hey guys, what's going on? This is Igor for Gaming Awesome. Today bringing you my best game on Slitherio ever. Slitherio? Slither.io? Not really sure. I'm going to call it Slitherio from now on, but I'm going to bring you that game along with some tips on how to do better. I've been playing this game pretty hardcore for a few days now, been watching some gameplay as well, and I've been getting on the leaderboards consistently, so here is my guide on how to do better at the game. I'm splitting this up between early, mid, and late gameplay because the game and the way you play it tends to change the bigger you get. So early game, these tips are to make you bigger. You want to get in the late game and on the leaderboard, right? So you have to get mass. These tips will help you do that. 1. Hang around bigger snakes. I know that might seem dangerous at first, but if you hang around larger snakes, you can get mass really quickly, even if another player takes that snake out. Alternatively, if that snake takes out another player, it's very unlikely they will be able to pick up every orb dropped quickly, so you can get the scraps. It's free orbs. When you're tiny, almost any orb group will make you much larger. The longer you are, the more people you can effectively cut off, so put yourself where the action is. 2. So where do you find the big snakes? Big snakes usually hang around other bigger snakes because once you're big, taking out another big snake is the only thing that's going to propel you on the leaderboard. So finding one is usually all you need. On the bottom right hand of the screen, however, is a map showing you where you are in the arena. Navigating to the middle of the arena will almost always guarantee that you'll find larger snakes. That's usually where I start heading as soon as I spawn. 3. Use your speed and size. You're tiny, but you're fast and agile. You can cut off so many unsuspecting players with your boost if you hold down the mouse button. Most of the time, they don't even see you as a threat, and in Slitherio, any size snake can take out the biggest snake in the lobby. So don't be afraid to challenge people when you see an opportunity, because what have you got to lose anyway, right? You're tiny. 4. Swipe around and cut people off. At around 200 to 300 mass, you have a long enough tail to effectively cut people off using the boost. You won't be able to race people through the arena for days because you'll lose mass when you continuously boost and you just don't have that much to spare yet, but a strategic burst of energy coupled with your now long tail and a loop in front of another snake will bring down many foes. In general, I find myself playing pretty aggressively in the early game simply because of the range of motion the smaller snakes have and the fact that I don't really have that much to lose. To be honest, I actually prefer the early game for this reason. To use an FPS term, it's more like run and gun versus a strategy game, which is what the late game turns into. In the late game, it becomes harder to turn, also in the mid game, but in the late game especially, it becomes harder to turn and you need to plan your moves ahead of time and use your body as cover. But it is also where you will get the most mass because you will be able to take out more than one enemy at a time and now be able to take out much larger snakes. So how do you get to the late game? Mid game. 1. Looping enemies. At around 1000 to 2000 mass, you are now large enough to loop all the way around small enemies, trapping them inside a circle of your body. By slowly and methodically and carefully closing the empty space, the enemy will have nowhere to go and their orbs will be yours for the taking. You want to use your boost to close the empty space while avoiding running into their body, so you have to be very careful, and it does get easier with practice. You're large enough to do this now, but remember, this is the mid game. There are lots of snakes that are larger than you. If you see another snake looping around you at the same time, it might be best to give up your prey and find another. 2. Don't get greedy. This is a good tip for any time in the game, no matter what size you are, but this is especially important now to get you into the late game and the leaderboard. It's time to buckle down and be careful. If you see a feeding frenzy with orbs and snakes everywhere, don't boost in there blindly expecting to get every orb and cut off every snake like you did when you were smaller. At 3000 to 6000 mass, your own size will start taking its toll and it will become slightly more difficult to turn around. It will be very easy to run into someone heading for the same group of orbs as you. Instead, use the length of your body to strategically run through the orbs in multiple locations while avoiding enemies. Then go back and loop around, trapping some of the orbs inside the coils of your body. Those orbs are now yours to collect them slowly and carefully. It's better to collect some of the orbs than to collect almost all of them and then immediately die after. 3. Boost only when you need to. Hold, then let go of the boost almost immediately when traveling and going for orbs. If someone is boosting towards you from the opposite direction, you will have no time to react, especially now that it's harder for you to turn your snake. I really only like to boost for a second or two at most when going for or collecting orbs. The only time I use the boost for longer than that is if I'm rushing around to loop trap someone. If you learn to carefully use your body to cut off sections of orbs and practice looping enemies with a little bit of luck, you will start seeing scores of 6,000 plus, which now brings you into the late game. In the late game, all tips I already went over are still important. Some of them are even more important because now it's even harder to turn, and you will have less agility. But this is where you have the potential to get the most mass possible and to top the leaderboards. And the only way you can do that is by mastering using your body as cover and the loop trap. Late game. Congratulations, you are now most likely in the top 50 players in your lobby, and that means that 99.9% of your lobby now wants to kill you and feast on your orbs because you're a giant target. The only way to survive and grow is to use the size of your body strategically. 1. Taking cover in your own body. This is extremely important. Everyone is going to try to cut you off, and most of them have a better turning radius than you. Don't pick fights with snakes unless you are 100% sure that you are going to win the fight. If a snake challenging you is in the early game, just turn around and move away, looping through your body. By the time they go around the loop, you will most likely be gone. If you feel threatened at any time, keep waving in and out of your body, stay within your body, protecting your head. This will keep almost all enemies at bay until you feel in control of the situation again. One thing to mention is try to keep your snake a little bit spread out and avoid coiling yourself into a small circle while hiding inside of your body. That's the perfect way to get yourself trapped in a loop. 2. Use loop traps to grow. Because it's hard to turn, you don't want to be caught boosting across the arena trying to cut snakes off for a few orbs. You are now large enough to loop trap almost any other snake in your lobby, and this is going to be your most efficient way to get mass in the late game. Find a snake or snakes that are preoccupied with collecting a group of orbs and loop yourself completely around them. Slowly close the circle and you will be able to collect the orbs they were going after and the orbs they leave behind after they're trapped inside your body. Learning these loop traps successfully can propel you in the leaderboards very quickly. 3. How to loop trap. I already went over the basics of looping enemies in the mid game, but because it's so important in the late game, I decided to leave the specific tips for here. Find unsuspecting prey and boost around them quickly. Players that are concerned with collecting orbs, players that are looping around another snake, if they're paying attention to something else, they might not notice the giant snake looping around them. This is going to take some practice and patience, but you only need 2 or 3 good loop traps to jump to the top of the leaderboard. If you start looping around someone and they notice right away and dash to get out of it, it's probably best to avoid racing them. Keep looking and you will find those snakes that are preoccupied with something else. You will get a successful loop trap going. Find a good snake to loop. Snakes that are coiled in a circular shape are the best victims of loop traps. You can close the area around them quickly and without much danger of being cut off yourself. I also find that snakes that are traveling in the opposite direction of you are the best to loop around and trap because they can't see you going around their tail. So by the time they see your head, you have almost completely looped around them, giving them little time to try to escape. 4. Have fun. If you're not having fun, you're going to get very frustrated. This is a massive multiplayer game played against a lot of other people, and it gets very competitive. So please have fun while playing, or you're going to get very angry. To me personally, I love the early game, so dying and restarting doesn't seem like a chore. Unlike a similar game, Agario, where starting over might mean a long way back to the top, in Slither.io, you can have a lucky spawn next to some orbs and almost immediately be in the mid game again. So have fun, practice, use these tips, and you'll be seeing yourself on the leaderboard in no time. I truly hope you enjoyed my Slither.io tutorial. Please like this video if it helped you. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, I'm back. So funny thing, right after I finished recording the video, I was playing Slither.io just on my own time. I wasn't recording or anything, and I actually beat my highest score ever. Unfortunately, like I said, I wasn't recording, so I can't show you guys the full gameplay, but as you guys can see, I beat my highest score that I started the video with, which is 23,000 in the full game that I showed you, with 11,000 mass. I unfortunately died almost right away at 34,000. Sometimes when I get to really high scores, I just get really nervous and then screw up like you see me here. But really excited about the score. Really hope you guys enjoyed the video one more time. And can we get a like for 34,000 mass in Slither.io? I'll see you guys in the next one again.